Welcome to the Elite Form Podcast, Episode 4. Today we have Jay Thomas. Jay manages two separate entities, both related to cycling. He handles Factor Bikes in North America, and he handles Champion Systems. We'll let Jay explain those to you in greater detail in the pod itself. But before we get to Jay, a quick overview on how we're approaching this. So we were discovering that more and more we were having wonderful conversations with coaches that really deserved to be shared, that people would have an interest in, but they were happening in silos. And while we looked at doing something like hosting a conference, you never could quite get to the bang for the buck that you could get in terms of creating a podcast, having a great conversation, and just making it available for everyone to listen to. And so that's our goal. We're going to have open conversation, let coaches lead us down conversational paths that they find appealing, and take it from there. Just let it flow. You can expect these to come out every couple of weeks after the initial block. And so far, the reception's been great. A lot of people opening to having a conversation, and I'm just going to reserve the right to get better at hosting as we do these more and more. So appreciate the listens, but without further ado, let's get to Jay Thomas.
Absolutely. For sure. The little things that start occupying your time and you don't realize, at least for me, maybe I'm just not that smart, but try to figure out where it all goes.
Yeah.
So,
and I want to do everything. Like I enjoy, like, there's days I enjoy being distracted by the little things because I feel like I'm getting stuff done. Like,
sure.
That's easy. Yeah, I'll just get that done. Man, I was so productive today. Yeah, I really wasn't that productive today. I got a lot of little shit done that I shouldn't have been worried about at all.
Well, I have a hard time balancing. So sometimes knowing that you could just do it faster.
Yeah.
Even though you probably shouldn't be doing it. Pretty bad about that.
Oh, all the time.
Or I tend to work in spurts.
Yeah.
In sprints. I do intervals.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes if the pace isn't where I want it to be, I tend to get a bit of an edge.
Yeah.
And then I just do whatever that thing might be.
Yeah.
And I could just be better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure I could be better about how I communicate about it.
Yeah.
But then, I will sometimes feel satisfied when it gets done, regardless.
Yeah.
So
it was like, why are you out mowing the lawn? Because I just freaking need something to do that, like, I can finish. That's really easy. That, like, doesn't occupy a lot of my time. Well, Jack can mow the lawn. Jack, get out there and mow the lawn. No, I'm like, it becomes just like, Jay, just let me do it. Like, I just need something that's mindless that I know I can do, that I'm the only judge of it. Like, it's all these great things that are involved in mowing the lawn that, like, Jack's like, oh, this is great. Dad likes them.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
There's also, I don't know if you feel this way, but curious. There's something about it that kind of keeps you grounded.
Oh.
You know, like, do you ever watch Peaky Blinders?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So there's a scene you may recall where Thomas Shelby steps in and starts, like, shoveling hay.
Yeah.
Shoveling shit, basically.
Yeah.
And Curly can't figure out why he's doing it. And he's like, it's going to remind me of who I am.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Or who I was.
Yeah.
And then why I am who I am.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that, I think, sometimes.
Absolutely. For sure.
Quote unquote mowing the lawn.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Still don't know how to balance it all, though.
No. Nope.
So, Leadboat.
Yeah. I got in.
So, for those who don't know.
Yep.
It's a weekend, right?
Yep.
And is it Saturday you race the Leadville 100 and Sunday you race?
SBT Gravel 150.
So I remember last year, I'm going to poke fun at you a little bit.
I know.
So I throw in for DKXL.
I know.
See you in the warehouse a few days later.
Yeah.
And like, dude, why?
I know.
So I'm going to look at you and say, why? It's a little different because it's something I would do.
Well, I think it's more I've come to figure out, I mean, I've always known this, but needing something that is challenging outside of what I'm, outside of my job, that's physically and mentally challenging, and something that kind of the unknown. I mean, I've not done back-to-back ultras ever. I mean, the most ultra I've ever done is Gravel Worlds, 150 miles on a gravel race. So, I've done things in the military. I think that as when I filled out my application, a lot of it was, when they asked, like, what are your ultras? Like, what have you done? I can only put one ultra, then a bunch of 100-mile road races. And then I can refer back to, 4 or 5 different schools that I was in the Marine Corps that would, that I thought would translate. So yeah, I think it's that need for challenge and to prove to myself that I can still do it. Like there's a little bit of a ego thing. I mean, obviously there's a lot of ego attached to it. I won't say a little ego attached to it. It's, I need to be able to prove to myself that I still got it in the gas tank a little bit. So I'm turning 50. I'll be 51 when I do the race. And I think I'm one of the older participants that was accepted into it. And I think I was mainly accepted. I mean, maybe my industry background got me a little bit of an edge, but I think mainly the veteran aspect of it. They probably didn't have a lot of veterans that were requesting to get into it. So I'm sure that that's a little bit of a story that they're going to want to tell. So yeah, I'm excited.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So are you first and foremost thinking about it as an athlete, or is it first and foremost kind of from the business side and it trickles down to being an athlete? I think it's, I don't think if I'm completely honest, I can never do something like this and not look at it from the athletic standpoint. I mean, I've already contacted my old cycling coach. We've already done some pre-interviews. He's already putting stuff together. I'll start January 1. I'm going to get back on, a focused cycling program. And not to where I think I used to do that because I thought I could win. Like, that was the goal. I think winning here is different for me. It's not beating an ex-pro tour rider or a pro tour rider in Leadboat, because I don't have that ability. But I do want to be the most competitive that I can be for myself, and where that ends up. I want to know that I put the preparation in to be as good as I possibly could be, and wherever that ends up, I end up. I mean, it's going to be tough. I mean, it's a 4-hour transfer right after the race, which Leadville just wrecks people for a couple weeks on its own. Sure.
And the body's shutting down, then re-going the next day. That's a whole different thing than going out and doing, 10 hours on the bike. Like, I can go out and do 10 hours on the bike tomorrow and not have a problem with it. Can I go out and do 6 hours hard, shut it down, drive for 4 hours, sleep for 10 hours, and get up and do it again for 150, all at altitude? Yet to be seen. So,
have you already started formulating your plan on how you want to handle that?
Oh yeah, no. I'm like, yeah, we're already. I'll be out there.
Team over analysis kicked in.
Absolutely. I'll be
Shout
out
out
there.
Mark Savery.
Yeah, I'll be out there 3 hours or 3 weeks prior, probably 2 to 3 weeks prior.
Are you going to go full acclimatization as well?
I'm gonna live, yeah, absolutely. And we'll do a couple camps, altitude camps. Like he's already got some riders that I know that know me, that would be willing to go to Big Bear, California, and ride with me for 2 or 3 days.
Nice.
Just to get me back, get that edge back. Because I think that's what it's. I mean, you can physically have it, but I haven't raced it. I haven't raced in a long time. I don't know. I think I know how I'll respond. I don't really know how I'll respond, so I do need to get into some situations with some people that know me and know my ability to go out and do some training with to kind of see where I stack up. So yeah, it'll be fun. I got a lot going on, but I think this will be a real good distraction for me to keep myself grounded. It's like,
so you may put aside mowing the lawn to get your ride in.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. But I'll probably still mow the lawn after I get the ride in, because that's just how I am. I've been known to mow my lawn in my bib shorts and my gardening clogs before, so.
My neighbors hate me as well.
Oh.
So
They all
I've never done that.
They've kind of looked at me like,
But-
okay, yeah, it's kind of how it works. So yeah, well, yeah, I'm excited about it. Yeah, I was pretty confident that I would get in. I didn't realize that so many people would apply for it. There was a lot of applications. I think they took 50. Maybe they probably took a few more. But
Do you happen to know how many people applied?
They said over 5,000 applied for it.
Wow.
Yeah. And they said they took 50. I think some of those were already there was 4 or 5 spots that were already taken up, and it was 25 men, 25 women. I'm sure the number went above that a little bit just because of some of the applications they got, but yeah, I'm excited. I mean, it's going to be fun. And then we'll see how that goes, and if I feel like it was a good thing, I'll just sustain that fitness, or continue to train, and we'll look at doing some other.
Well, yeah, you could end up at the point where you're like, well, I have all this fitness.
Yeah.
I need to do more than mow the yard now.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so, have you done Leadville before?
No.
First Leadville?
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I don't.
Throw all your chips in the middle of the
I
table.
I have no clue what to expect. I mean, I've done races at altitude. Like I've done the Firecracker 50, in its second year out.
How high does that go? Elevation
Starts in Breckenridge. It probably goes up to Breckenridge is 8. It probably goes up to 10 or 11.
Okay.
But I was 32, and I actually did really well. I was top 10. I think. The old Canadian Olympian Chrissy, she's raced for Gary Fisher. She passed me on the last descent. I mean, it was a great race, and I was climbing really well, but I was out there, a week and a half prior to that too. And then I've done Mount Evans, so I've done that race, and I did that about that same era of my racing career. But we drove right into that, slept, and then raced the next morning. So you can kind of trick your body a little bit.
Yeah, that's the other way to go about it, right?
So
I was just talking about that with Luke Bradford, who's a strength coach at Kansas.
Yep.
He went out and did some 14ers
with
a couple friends. And, you can go one of two routes.
Yeah.
You can full acclimatize, like you're talking about, or you can go and hit it.
Yeah.
And basically get it done before your body says, what in the hell did you just do to me?
Yeah. And I don't think with, we've talked about that in the back-to-back thing. I don't think that's possible.
You might ruin yourself
because the body will be
steamboat.
Oh my gosh! So probably being out there 2 to 3 weeks prior, is going to be important.
It's a nice place to be for 2 to 3 weeks.
I can just office out there. Yeah.
No complaints there.
No, I agree. So
gotcha. So have you been above 12 before in terms of elevation?
Oh yeah, I've done
hiking.
I've hiked several 14ers.
Gotcha.
Sarah and I hiked.
Okay.
Grace Peak this year. It was
nice.
her first 14er.
How'd she like that?
She wants to go back and do more.
That's a good sign.
Yeah. Matt, my brother, and Jack and I did Longs Peak. My brother's 50th and Jack's 13th birthday, or Jack's 14th birthday, kind of all in the same time. I think Jack and I made it we made it up to the keyhole, to the big boulder patch before the keyhole, and it was super dark and super windy, and he was pretty young. He didn't have any interest in doing it, so him and I turned around, but Matt and my brother went along. So I've done,
so there's nothing net new in terms of, it'll be your first time cycling maybe that high,
just wanting to be competitive, governing the engine enough to where I don't blow up. Because once, as we all know, once you go in the red or you blow up at that altitude, you're pretty much done for the day. So there's going to be a big learning curve for me, because it's not how I race. I race as hard as I possibly can, and where the chips fall, they fall. I'm not going to do that with this. I'm going to really understand the numbers the best that I can and try to keep it within that area and not get caught up in
when somebody starts going up the road.
Because I don't like that, but we'll figure it out.
Who does?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Mid-pack, front of the pack, etc.
Yes, I know.
No one cares for that feeling.
Absolutely.
So switching gears a little bit, and I will mention this is actually effort number 2.
Hey.
since we did pod number 1 and hand race failed to actually get it recorded. But I think we covered a lot of good things, and unfortunately we'll probably rehash them a little bit here. But so from the business side, kind of the business side of cycling, you sort of manage 2 entities right now, run, manage, etc. So there's Champion Systems and Factor Bikes. And do you mind, since a lot of strength conditioning coaches are going to be hearing this, relaying kind of what each of those entities are quickly?
Yep, absolutely. So Champion System is custom apparel, a manufacturer of custom cycling apparel, tri apparel, and run apparel. So I always tell people, you see the guys and the guys and the gals out riding around with all the logos all over their jerseys. That's the kind of stuff that we make on the Champion System side. We manufacture our stuff in Asia and we ship into the U.S., all over the U.S. And then Factor Bikes we're a distributor for North America and South America for Factor Bikes. Are just high-end carbon fiber bikes that are raced in the Tour de France. Actually, this year we'll be sponsoring the Israel Cycling Academy, and then the Parkhotel women's team, which is the UCI team, and then also the only UCI team out of Canada, which is Instafund. It's a women's race team out of Canada. And then we also do black ink wheels and components, so all sorts of carbon fiber bits and pieces of bike wheels and bar stem combos and seat posts and stuff like that. Basically I have a warehouse for that. I take in the orders from bike dealers, and then we fulfill out of there. And then Champion System is just more of a consumer direct model, online ordering portal where you go in, do your design, hit confirm, pay part of your bill, then 3 to 4 weeks later you get your clothing in the mail. So
And so I know that you assigned is probably too strong of a word, but asked everyone to read Let My People Surf.
Yeah.
What was your thinking behind asking sort of your staff to take that in?
It's a book that I've obviously used. I've read 4 to 5 times myself, and whenever I find myself at critical points in my business career, or where I see things growing or strategic moves about to happen, I think it's important that I read it again. And as I was reading it again, I'm like, I think everybody else should read it. Probably the biggest reason is I have the utmost respect for the brand and what the brand has done and where the brand has been and where it started and where it is right now. But I also think it gives some insight on kind of how I think and how I do things, because I kind of try to align myself the best that I possibly can in my very small businesses to how Yvon Chouinard runs his business. It's very much directed by his core values, and I think as a small business owner, that often can get lost. Your mission statements and your core values can often get lost in what you're doing. And I'm not. I used to be really good about hammering that home with all of my employees. I have not been so good about that as of late, and it's something that I'm really trying to get back to, is redirecting people back to that, because that's, in the end of the day, that's what he's done. He set core values, and he's set a vision, and he set a mission statement, and he's carried it out. He's carried it through, and I think that book, that's the basis of the entire book to me. And I just like how he questions things and does things, and he's not risk averse. He's taken a lot of risk. So it's just a cool brand, and you see it all over the place, and I think everybody, from what I understand, everybody enjoys it. Enjoy it so much that yesterday I got an email. Hey, I think I have a suggestion. We should give everybody their birthday off. Yeah, you're right. We should. Everybody should get their birthday off. And that's kind of comes out of that book. Hey, if you really, and I don't disagree. I didn't disagree with the question at all. It took me 5 seconds to answer it. Yeah, great idea. Go ahead and implement it. Get it on the calendar and let everybody know that they get their birthday off. I'm fine with that. Yeah.
one thing I could do better at is I don't even know if I could name when everybody's birthday is. So, but we treat time off incredibly casually.
Yeah.
It's more of a, do I have all my stuff done? Is there anything I need to be providing to you?
Yeah.
And if the answers are no, go ahead and take some time off.
Yeah,
so.
That's how we are for sure. I want to, my goal with my litmus test for my employees is if I can ride my bike with you for an hour and I enjoy it, we're probably going to work pretty good together. But we got to be able to hold a fairly good conversation and just kind of just genuinely enjoy being around each other. Because then I think through that we create a bond and we create some trust between each other, and then just allow them to take their time off when they want to. And I think it's worked out really well to this point. And as things grow, maybe some of that has to change a little bit, but I don't even really think it has to change at that point. So,
yeah, we had a problem with coordination for a little bit.
Yeah,
particularly because our business is, and cycling, I assume, is the same way. Very seasonal.
Yes.
Right. So when everybody's busy,
yeah.
Hence is there anything you need from me?
Yeah.
Because I kind of take that attitude of my first client, so to speak, is our staff.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then there's a trickle down effect to actual paying clients, if you will. And so I just try to make sure if you pull a domino out, like the whole thing can still keep moving along. But
we like it at internal and external and customers. You have your internal customers and your external customers, and everybody has that, and everybody's kind of in sales. I mean, whether you don't have a title in sales, you're there to support sales, you're there to be in sales, you're there to make sure that sales are happening. And then within that, you have your internal customers, where every one of my colleagues or employees, whatever you want to call them, they're all my internal customers. I need to make sure that I'm taking care of them so they can take care of our external customers.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. So we're very similar.
Yeah.
I do this, I think, unconsciously, and it's just sort of grown.
Yeah.
Hate the term sales. Yeah. So we'll talk about being evangelists.
Yeah.
Sometimes brand ambassadors. They're actual ambassadors in your world, so that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But I'll often be on the phone and talk about how we're not trying to get you to leave the lot in the car today.
Yeah.
Kind of an anti-sales
approach.
And that's worked generally pretty well because we're not really full of shit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for
I
sure.
think people
Absolutely.
get that.
Yeah.
And it seems like you're somewhat similar in your approach.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
So both brands growing.
Yeah. Yep.
Finally.
I mean, so Champion System was kind of a turnaround because I inherited kind of
that's where I was going to go.
A bit of a rat's nest with that one. And it's not been my first rodeo with kind of inheriting a business like that. And it was really, the first goal was just to kind of stabilize it and get our own identity as a new U.S. office, because the identity clearly had to change quite a bit.
What was the identity when you inherited it?
It was not very customer-centric. And I know everybody says that they offer the best customer service, and that's really what they do. But the reality is not everybody offers the best customer service, and that's not really what they do. I'm not saying that they didn't grow a great business, because they grew a great business doing it a certain way. But as we all know, that businesses stagnate, and they reach these points in their business cycle where they're not growing. And what they didn't do, what the old office didn't do, and the old owners didn't do, is they didn't take those points as opportunities to really learn how to grow and to really strategically think about how to grow. So that caused a lot of problems over the last 4 to 5 years in the business, where the business really stagnated and started going downhill. When I first came in, the thing I told everybody is we just got to get to yes with every customer. There's no option outside of that. Like, they got a broken zipper, yes, we will replace it. If the color didn't come out the way they think it, yes, we got to work through it, and yes, we'll replace it. Like, we're not going to argue over $40. I just don't have time. We don't have time, and we don't have time to lose customers over $40. So we really focus on that. And it took a couple of the old employees that came with me time to kind of get that attitude out of their head that everybody's out to kind of get us and screw us over, where I don't really care if they are or not. We need to grow the business. If we have somebody on the phone, that's our best opportunity to grow the business. Or we have an email with somebody. It's not time to argue and prove ourselves right, which we may be. How do we take care of the customer? So it was really trying to direct that energy into that kind of getting the yes mentality. And what we did is it started to stabilize. You started to see the decline slow. And then over the last 4 to 5 months, we've actually started to see percentages of growth in our confirmed orders, and then our cash and our transactions and stuff like that. So,
is it a particularly difficult environment to be so proactively, in quotes, yes, given it's custom apparel?
That's
because it seems to me like that would be a challenge beyond what a lot of businesses would experience. Because I'm envisioning this custom kit. I have this cute little sketch I've sent you. Now it comes back as an example.
You know what, though? Most of our customers, our clients, are really pretty understanding, and they're not asking for stuff that's unreasonable. Yes, there's once in a while we get an unreasonable request, and we have to have a conversation, and I have to get involved, and we have to kind of meet the customer halfway, but we're really still trying to get to yes with that customer. With the process, like they send us a cute little sketch and it turns into something that takes time. Mm-hmm. And they get a final design that they get to sign off on, and then we confirm the order, and that's all documented in the back end. So if it does come back to where we have to have a conversation with the customer where they don't like the Pantone that they got, but that's the Pantone they request, yes, we have to explain to them, but then we just have to weigh with them how do we solve the problem. We want to help you solve the problem. We want you to help us solve the problem. So we just really try to partner with them a little bit more, instead of letting something sit for a week, not responding to the customer, getting back to the customer and saying, you know what, we're not going to fix that zipper or those 2 bib shorts you got in the wrong size. Because that's what people also, they order a bib short and they think they're a small in this brand and they're a medium in our brand. And they get it, they don't like it. And I could say, that's what you ordered. But what good is that going to do at the end of the day?
Or you can make it collaborative and fix it.
I can say, okay, well, this is a really big customer. You know what, Ben, Jesse, Susan, whoever, just replace the bib short. I'm not going to argue about it. Jay, it's a first-time customer. I really think they're going to do really well for us. Hey, let's go back and just offer them the bib short at 50%. A new bib short at 50% off. They can sell it to another club member and get their money back because it's not been used. I mean, we really try to work through things with people, and that's not. I think the last ownership wanted to do that, but I think they just had a hard time getting there because they'd been doing it so long and they had so much success. And I think they did get jaded over time with the success. And, my goal is to build a brand and a business that is self-sustainable, where I think that people just genuinely want to do business with us because we're good people and we really enjoy what we're doing. And they know at the end of the day, you know what? They're going to take care of me. And I'll take care of them. I'm going to tell all my friends that Champion System is just a really good brand to work with. There's over 100 apparel brands out there that do custom apparel in North America.
There are a lot.
So you've really got to watch how you manage your business. And I just want people to say, hey, they're good people. They're going to take care of you, because they can switch really quick and really easy tomorrow. And, that's, you and I both know that getting new customers is the hardest thing. And in this business, keeping our current customers is really hard. It's a full-time job too. So that's why I'm just get everybody focused on how do we get to yes with our customers.
So then, from the factor side, a lot of that would seem to cross over. But are there particular things that you see as different with factor than Champion Systems?
Well, factor, I think people really know what they're getting. If you're a new customer of Champion System, you kind of don't know what you're getting. If you've been at this for a long time, you kind of know what you're getting. Factor, there's very few variables. It's a frame size, it's a color, it's a bar stem combo size, and it's a seat post set pack, and what wheels do you want with it? It's all pretty straightforward. I think on the factor side, where the customer service comes in is when I put myself up against brands that are our size, I want to be viewed as in our size one, not our.
You want to help people understand what you mean by that?
Well, so I think there's a perception of what our size is because we sponsor a world tour team. But what everybody needs to understand is we're still just a frame, fork, and wheel company. We're a frame company. We don't sell full bikes with components hanging on the bikes. So we're small. Yes, we do. We believe that our heritage is in racing, so we need to be in the world tour or the pro tour. But we're a tiny company, so I think perception is that we're not as big as Trek, but we're kind of like, you should be like Trek, or you should be like one of the big brands because you're in the pro tour with those brands. Well, we're not. So when I stack us up against a brand, we don't even, you can't even stack us up against an Argonaut. Argonaut's much bigger than we are. We're more like custom frame builders in the U.S. That's the size of a business that we are. But I want to offer that level of customer service and inventory visibility and things like that those bigger brands do, because that's the expectation that I had when I was a bike dealer. If I couldn't offer that, if the brand couldn't offer that to us when we owned our stores, we just didn't do business with them because it was just too hard to do business with them. It should be really easy in both cases, and in any business, it should be really easy for the customer or the client to give us their money. And if we make that process hard, that's on us.
And just for clarity for people who don't know the industry as well, so with Champion Systems, you're directly touching cyclists.
Yes.
But with Factor, you're actually going to be working through bike shops to resell product.
Yeah,
fair description?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So with Factor, we'll just get POs for 1 or 2, 3 bikes from bike dealers, and then we have to fulfill the PO and get the shipment out, get the customer their tracking number. We want them to have visibility of what we have in stock so they can sell as they need to sell. The business has changed a lot, where the bike business used to be these really, really big retail spaces. 5,000 to 10,000 square feet was considered a good bike shop. Well, that's really started to change, where 2,500 to 5,000 square feet is really kind of the sweet spot for bike shops. Well, that takes in less inventory. They can hold less inventory. So they're wanting just-in-time inventory. They're wanting to order and they're wanting to get it. So they need visibility to see what we have so they can sell what we have. Hey, I want the blue bike from Factor. Let me check real quick. They don't have the blue one, but they have the silver one. Okay. Then they're calling us quick. Hey, can we get the silver one? They're sending us a PO to get the silver one. So that is where I think we try to differentiate ourselves amongst brands that are our size, not our perceived size, because we're not. I mean, the way that Trek integrates with their dealers is at a whole nother level. It's very, very impressive what they've built, and they've made it that's why they decided a long time ago when they bought their software company Ascend that they wanted to make it easy for their customers to order from them and their customers to give them their money, and they're at the top. That's what everybody strives
Well,
to
yeah,
do.
for folks who don't know cycling that well, when we throw out Trek versus an Argonaut or even custom frames, that's almost the full spectrum, right?
Yep.
So do you have like incremental goals in terms of Factor's growth, or does some of that come from global? Or I don't know if that's the right term.
Well, I think sales growth, we obviously have numbers and budgets set up for sales growth, but from a operational standpoint, I don't accept anything but Trek. I think that's where we need to be. We can be there on our level. I can't own my own software company, but there's accounting softwares out there that tie into inventory software. I know people. Yeah, into inventory software that then have apps that the dealer can actually see on an app what we have in stock, and they can order from the app, and we're moving to get to that point. And for a company our size, that's big time. And I look at that as being at Trek's level without having all of the ownership of all of of every step of the process.
So you want to take on some of those efficiencies.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And an ease for the customer.
Yes.
Even though if someone did a business analysis on Trek versus what you're doing, obviously those numbers are going to be vastly different.
Vastly different, but we would check a lot of the similar boxes
Right.
from an operational standpoint.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's segue back a little bit.
Yep.
So what bikes are you going to be riding during Leadboat? Do you already have that dialed in?
I'll build up a Santa Cruz Blur. Yeah. And we'll do it. I think we're targeting like 21 pounds. I asked the question if I could race the first half of it on a drop bar bike, switch bikes at the turnaround point, and do the descent on a full
And who
suspension.
did you ask this question of?
I asked a couple riders,
Okay.
pros that have done it, and they said, "Well, we've asked the question. It's really not in the spirit of the race. They won't stop you from doing it, but you probably don't want to do it." So I'm like, you know what? That's not me. Fine. And
I was trying to think of like the last tour rider who switched bikes at the base of a climb.
that was my
Similar thought process.
I'm much better on a drop bar bike. I'm a lot more efficient when I'm climbing on a drop bar bike. It's just I have so much more time on it. So that was my thinking behind that. But I'm not that guy, so it's not like I'm not gonna. And they said since you're doing both days, you're gonna want to give your body as much comfort as you possibly can. So they even said don't even do a hardtail mountain bike. Like get a lightweight full suspension mountain bike. So Blur with a Sid World Cup, all the carbon fiber bits and pieces and Envy wheels and King hubs and stuff like that. So that's all in the process now. And then for the
do you have Mr. Harnley building that up?
Yes, I do.
Shout out, Matt.
Yeah, he loves that. I think he likes building my bikes.
And deconstructing them as well?
Yes. And then for the SPT gravel, I'll be racing a Factor. Yeah. Yet to be determined which bike. I'll probably take a couple bikes out with me because they say I think the roads are a lot like Nebraska gravel.
Okay.
And if that's the case, I would probably maybe ride a road bike with 30 millimeter tires. I've talked to a few riders that are like, it's totally doable, where you might get a little sketches on the descents. So I just got to kind of weigh the pluses and negatives of that. But I'll go over that time that I'm out there. I'll certainly go over and ride portions of the course to kind of figure out what bike will work the best. So and then just having tire options, I think, is going to be crucial.
If you have access to, let's just say, a quality quiver, right, where you can go potentially O2, potentially Vista, potentially X, why not take advantage?
Yeah, and that bike will be, they're both going to be what I call functionally light. I think they'll be functionally light for the given race that I'm going to do. Yeah, that's my biggest concern at this point, is being comfortable than having a super lightweight bike, so I'm not carrying around extra weight. So yeah, I went from having one bike 7 months ago to having a lot of bikes today, so I'm kind of back into the
N+1.
Oh yeah, geeking out over all the equipment and researching all the equipment, and having conversations and talking tires and stuff that I haven't done in years. Which
the last time we talked, we had part of our conversation was the racing days are over.
Yeah.
I'm just a business guy. Et cetera, et cetera.
And I think there's a lot. I think the racing days like they were before are over. Like I don't have any desire to go out and do a criterium or a road race. And they're hard to find anyways. So,
well, cycling as a whole has evolved away to some degree.
It's kind of amazing to see how it has evolved since I've last raced. So I think that style of racing is certainly over. But there's, it'll be fun to kind of get the competitive bug going again and seeing what it all kind of turns up and looks like. So
I'm very interested in seeing or hearing post-race.
Yeah.
What was going through your head when someone just started inching up the road? Not an attack, right? Not where you can't go with it.
Yeah.
But the one where I could hang on. I know I can hang on. Will J. Thomas go for the wheel or be happy?
We'll see. Yeah, I don't know. I have a sense.
Smile
I have
on
a
your
I have a
face.
sense that I know, but we'll see how it works out. Yeah.
Well, we can touch base again.
Absolutely.
Kind of after that point. So, obviously, for both of us, we're kind of in our business off season.
Mm-hmm.
So for 2020, like I know you have some of your ambassadors coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's back up a half step. Could you explain to folks what ambassadors mean for a business or businesses like yours, and then kind of your approach with that?
Yeah, I think it's changed. I mean, it's really changed in the last 5 to 6 years. I mean, maybe 5 to 6 years. I mean, the social media has certainly changed that landscape drastically. You know, I call them their ambassadors, social media athletes, elite level athletes. They all kind of start to follow that same category these days. And we know we have to have a presence, and we have to be aligned. We have to be aligned with a certain amount of ambassadors, athletes, social media athletes, whatever the term is that we want to use. I think they all kind of fall in the same area. So we've really tried hard to curate the athletes in that group that they're kind of not touching in the same, that their followers aren't the same followers, that they're really hitting different groups of people. It's challenging because we're a small industry, you know, and you compare us to other sports industries, we're tiny. So there is crossover, but I think we've done a fairly good job. And we've grown that group on both brands side going into 2020. You know, we've maintained most all of them, but we've also added some, and we'll continue to. I won't say we'll continue to add because there's a cost to that for us.
Sure.
But you know, we're always looking out and trying to find where we think strategically it makes sense. You know, we found a couple new ones this year for both brands. I mean, TJ Eisenhart, you know, XU23 or, you know, ex-pro road racer, kind of kid that just loves everything, really talented artist. He's coming on and as one of our athletes for both brands. We don't have a lot of crossovers with both brands, so he's doing both Champion and Factor. You know, we have Eric Marcotte. Everybody, I think, not everybody on this podcast, but everybody in the industry knows who Eric is. You know, ex-road pro champion, crit champion, cycling monk. I mean, there's no better way to describe the guy.
Well, Eric's interesting because to some degree he crosses over into elite form world a little bit, just in the sense of he was a bodybuilder. And is happy to talk overall wellness with really anyone he can get his hands on.
Absolutely.
So he's sort of fascinating in many ways.
Yeah.
But it seems like, and I would guess largely consciously, like a lot of your ambassadors are people who are more than just people who are fast on a bike.
Yeah, they're interesting characters. I mean, you look at Phil Guyman. I mean, Phil Guyman is fast on a bike, still fast on a bike. He would say probably today he's faster on a bike than he was as a pro tour rider. I mean, he's doing 20 to 25 hour weeks. Yeah, I think he had three back-to-back 25-hour weeks. But he's got this, you know, this crazy following that follows him that likes how quirky he is, and he's super engaging on social media. It's just they're all over the board with what we have, and that's kind of how we try to keep it. I think we could really pigeonhole ourselves in that we are on the Factor side, it's a race brand. We can just be totally aligned just with full on racers and people that are just into that. But you talk to an Eric, and the bike's much more than just a race, something to race. He just genuinely enjoys fitness, and he loves talking about it. And he loves talking about the holistic part of health and stuff like that. And that, to me, just speaks more volumes about him and about us and kind of who he can touch and stuff like that. So,
and it also seems like you're looking at a balance in terms of being inclusive.
Yes.
So, for example, there's a lot of conversation right now in the cycling world for people who don't know about the idea of giving opportunities beyond, well, people like you and me.
Yeah,
I suppose might be a way to put it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, women in cycling,
Yes, for sure.
and giving people opportunity. So, for those who don't know, can you touch on who you have like as ambassadors on in that regard as well?
Yeah, we have Lindsay Knight's a big one. You know, she's kind of a social media. She's really good on social media. She's a good athlete. She's just a really smart person that does really cool things in her professional life. She helps manage a not-for-profit that directs a lot of not-for-profits in the Chicago area, which I just find super fascinating.
Absolutely.
The U.S. office just partnered with the Instafund team out of Canada, which I'm really excited about. They are doing some really cool projects. They're going to be working with National Geographic this next year to do a piece on the river that runs through Vancouver, where they're racing the Canadian rowing team. They'll be on gravel bikes, and they're racing on this levee by this river to raise awareness for this river. So, and they've got some really cool athletes. One that's actually coming down to DK with us. We've got, who else do we have? Maybe ask me their question. I'll come back to one because I know I'm missing.
Well, when they pop up in your mind,
yeah,
it's a freeform podcast.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
We can jump back whenever we need to. But yeah, that's another thing about where there's weird parallels in our world is female strength coaches are few and far between, and so we're lucky enough to work with a few of the best. But then the idea of how do you make that world a bit more inclusive is an interesting challenge to try to tackle, or even in sports technology. So there are people who are making an effort, but there's a nice long road, right, to walk to try to kind of improve some of those things. So it's just interesting to think through how you're doing it, right?
Yeah,
see how that pans out going forward.
You know, and from an employee standpoint, that's been a really important part of the growth of the company is trying to equal that out a little bit. Because when I took it over, it was, 3 or 4 middle-aged white guys running a business, and I just don't think that really, well, one, it's not right, and two, I don't think it really represents how a business should look. So we've really placed a lot of emphasis on all of our new hires. All of my new hires have been women over the last year, and I'll continue to go down that road. I mean, it makes for a better company. It makes for better decisions. It makes for better discussions. I mean, just all around, and I genuinely feel like they make our business a lot better. And I've had conversations where I know that that's where everybody in the company feels that way. So our other important female ambassador is Lindsay Goldman of USA Cycling. So she used to run the Supermet team. She's on a Factor. Wow, what a super intelligent, straightforward, she's not afraid to get in the mess of conversation. I think she's really added a lot of value to USA Cycling. She's doing a podcast, USA Communique, where she's taking on questions about USA Cycling and she's finding the answers and she's answering them on a podcast, which we've all kind of known for years. Like, what is USA Cycling? What do they do? What am I giving my money to? They're really trying to pull that curtain down, and she's playing a big part in that. So I have a ton of respect for her. And I met her through the team before they closed down. Before she closed the team down, she approached us to be a bike sponsor. We just couldn't. I was just had taken over the brand and moved it to Nebraska. I just didn't have the bandwidth to do it at that point. But we've become, fairly good friends, I think, over time. And yeah, she's the real deal. So,
well, there's always the things you would like to do.
Yep.
And then there's putting your company in a position to be able to do them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So great that you were able to sort of knock that domino down.
Yeah.
Do you have some other things that are kind of stretch goals where, obviously there's sort of becoming, to back up a little bit, Trek-like, right?
Yep.
But then there's also more near-term goals where you're almost there but not quite. I mean, do you have anything like that that's there's light at the end of the tunnel, but you're just not quite to it?
I think it just, for us, growth on the sales side gives us opportunity on the other side. I'm always willing to risk and invest more than I probably should.
Invest in what?
In like the marketing and the ambassadors and stuff like that. I mean, as a percentage of my overall budget, I mean, if I really looked at it, I'm probably 4 to 5 points higher than what I should be from what I know, from the other businesses that I've run. But I know we need to do that up front. I'm willing to kind of pull back in other areas to be able to do that. But I think with growth gives you the ability to do more of those things. Right now, I just, the brands will be profitable this year. That was a big
Sure.
one, and it's been that's been a big challenge. There's no doubt about it. It's where everybody can make, where all my employees can have, decent lives and have a fun time and enjoy what they're doing. And we can feel some successes together and everybody can, high five once in a while. And I think along with that comes, then we can start to dream up other things. We have a lot of dreams. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Right.
I'd like to.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to let the cat out of the bag.
Well, I'd like to start events. I think we have a great opportunity in Nebraska for events. I think we have great opportunity in Nebraska for, I don't want to call them cycling camps, more cycling tour opportunities. I think our gravel roads are really good. I think they're some of the best in the U.S. for all levels of riders. So I really want to try to figure out how we can start to bring more attention to this area. And that was my goal when I moved the businesses back here. I wanted to bring businesses back to Lincoln that were different than just bike shop jobs. I wanted to have something to where, Matt Harnley, if he wanted to leave the bike shop, he could come work at a company like this and find something that really fit him well. And I think he has. And then just continue to grow so I can hire more people and hopefully people even outside of Lincoln and recruit them into Lincoln. That would be a really cool thing to be able to do. The challenge is obviously, in the cycling industry, because everybody's located in Boulder or they're located in California. How do you get them back to Nebraska for a marketing job or a sales job or whatever that job is? So yeah, those are the big goal is just to bring more awareness to the Midwest. And I think we're doing that. So, and Lincoln's a great cycling community. I think once people from magazines come back here and they ride with me or other cyclists, or pro riders come in to train for a couple of days, they're like, wow, this is a pretty cool area. Like you guys, there's a lot going on here. I had no clue. I've flown over, I've driven by it a ton of times, but I've never been here. And there's some really neat stuff.
Yeah,
so.
the flown over it or the, well, I've been through there, which means, you've driven 80. Is a lot different than actually experiencing what's around here. And I've been as guilty. Yeah. I mean, this was 20 years ago, but as guilty as anybody else. I think I may have told you the story before, but when we first were looking to move, it was Boise, Idaho, or it was Lincoln, Nebraska. And I'm always up front and saying, I didn't want Lincoln, Nebraska to win. Not at all. And so then Lincoln, Nebraska won because that's where the job, came up. And then, Lincoln decided to prove to me how wrong I was in terms of that preconceived notion, right? So one of the things that I will point to in terms of if people want to get an understanding of, there's actually good riding to be had is the Rafa Continental ride. That a lot of the locals did. Showcases the fact that Nebraska's not flat. I know Mark Savery, shout out Mark, was really happy to point out that there was more climbing in gravel worlds than there was at Steamboat. Now it's a different kind of climbing. I mean, that's the caveat, the little asterisk that I'm not
quite sure he put on
Yeah.
that little post,
Yeah.
but it's still hard as hell.
Yeah. And it's beautiful. I mean,
it's just a different kind of beauty.
Oh, absolutely. And I've never heard somebody say that wasn't fun or that wasn't cool or that wasn't, wow, I'm not, I get more of a, oh my gosh, I'm shocked. Because, within the city, we have 150 miles of bike paths. There's not a lot of cities that have 150 miles of bike paths, and we have a really good cycling infrastructure here for, to be able to commute on bikes from, green corridors where there's dedicated bike lanes and, protected bike lanes. And yeah, I think we're really, really lucky. It's been worked on for years. It started way back when Rich Rodenberg first started to really push helping get bike paths built, some of the first bike paths built. And then this, the local trail organizers and, GPTN, Great Plains Trails Network, and, Chris Sondrup at CycleWorks, and, Jim Carveth at Bike Rack, they've all been really, really instrumental in helping push that stuff. And it's built a really cool community. We have a bike share program. So yeah, and then you have, I rode last night for a couple hours in the dark, and it was right out my back door into Wilderness Park. It's not the hardest mountain biking, but it's pretty darn good, and it's pretty fun. And it's a 5-minute ride from my house, and I can get a couple hours in the evening and be out of the wind and see a lot of wildlife at night, and you're right in the city. So, and then you have gravel roads, and you have good road riding too. So,
yeah, it is. It's not really a hidden gem, but it's definitely underappreciated.
Yeah, for sure.
And growing that appreciation outside of.
Yeah. I think Gravel Worlds has helped a lot with bringing a lot of cyclists into Lincoln and really making them realize, oh, wow, the downtown's cool, the food's good, they have good breweries, and, the riding's good. And the people are really nice. We're Nebraska nice, man. Like,
well, that old trope. No.
Yeah.
No, but it is true enough.
Yeah.
So, no, absolutely. So, short term, what do you have on the docket? Obviously, well, so there's becoming Racer Boy again.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think you put on social media, you're going to ride a couple hours a day, and then hit a program in January.
Yeah.
Business-wise, what do you have coming up?
I think we have a lot of cool stuff coming up. A lot of stuff that I can't really allude to.
Not trying to get you to let any cats out of the bag.
I think from the factor side, on the bike side, the bikes haven't evolved in the last several years a ton, and we're going to see a lot of evolution in our bikes leading into the tour this year, which is going to be pretty cool.
How do you deal with the fact that to back up a half step? So, like, if someone's riding a factor, that's already tip of the spear in terms of quality of bike.
Yeah.
So, when you say the bikes haven't evolved a ton, are we talking kind of some pretty small incremental gains that equal evolution? How do you think about that?
I don't think in the bike business you're going to get you're only going to get incremental gains anymore. Those large gains that we saw from 10 years ago, those aren't. We won't see those ever again. Everything is pretty well evolved, but there's small minor details I think that are important to consumers that big brands can adjust to and do really quick because they have huge budgets for testing and evaluating product and bringing it to market. To where a smaller brand like us, it's a little bit harder. We can do it faster than they can do it. Our period of to evolve something is pretty small compared to a big company like Trek, but they have the money to do it.
Is it the case where your ability to pivot is faster, but you better pivot in the right way because you only have X amount of resources to do it?
Absolutely. And but like hidden cables on road bikes, it's just a huge deal. We don't have all of our road bikes aren't hidden cables, so it's figuring out how to do stuff like that is important to consumers. Like that's what they're buying now. So we have to figure out how to take our current product and not have to build all new product and make it happen. So one of our cool hires for Factor this year was Graham Schrive. He was the head of engineering for Cervelo. He's now the head of engineering for us. and he brings a wealth of knowledge just in product, but also in systems and testing and how to kind of bring stuff to market, how to communicate it, how to get our marketing people all the information so that they can make it into good copy for our consumers to understand, and then also have just good product. So I think that's going to be really exciting. I think on the champion system side, we'll see kind of what evolves there. In the first quarter, I think we have some cool stuff going on. There's some opportunities that we're evaluating right now, and hopefully, over time we'll be able to make some announcements of some changes on that side too. But always, I think the one thing that people have learned about me that are working for me now, if they didn't know about it, I don't let the grass grow under my feet very long. I get pretty restless, and I'm always up for a challenge, even when I'm not super sure about how I'm going to do it. I'll figure it out, and I'll work tirelessly to figure it out. So, and I kind of don't. Small moves don't really excite me anymore. I kind of want to see some big moves. I want to make bigger impact. So we'll see what we can do.
So seems like there's an analogy there where we could bring it back to racing.
Yep.
So you want to jump with some moves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And I don't, I could have started racing again, and I could have just went and done Gravel Worlds this year and rode 150 miles. I've done it before. It's like I've ridden all those roads hundreds of times. It's a great event. It's good people. It's exciting, but it's like, why? Like, let's go put our name in the hat for this because this is bigger. There's a bigger challenge, and that's kind of how I view business too. So let's just see what comes out of it.
So you're asking me why about DKXL last year, and just take the answer you provided and slide it in there.
Yeah.
And we've come full circle.
Okay.
Because largely...
Yeah, but that's like 300 and some miles. What is that?
It's like 350.
That's
something to that
ridiculous.
Effect, but
it's a long
it's just
time.
a different version of ridiculous from Leadboat.
Yeah, but that's like sitting on a bike for a long time. Like,
I think if we back up about an hour, you were just like, 10-hour ride, I could do that tomorrow.
Yeah, but how long did it take you to do?
Well, it was like 30-some hours, but we also took, at a certain point, once enough, like I flatted out of the front group, right? Here comes Corey Godfrey and Scott Bigelow.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I can't be competitive at this point
Yeah.
because I don't have the ability to bridge those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So let's just hang out with some friends for a while. So, there were some leisurely stops. There was a breakfast pizza that was consumed. It wasn't, after a while, it wasn't trying to stay up front.
Yeah.
So
what's your goal this year?
Things creep in. Well, hopefully I get in, right? So the different process. I think I got in on old G gravel status last year.
Yeah.
Now 275 people put their name in, and it's a bit more lottery-esque.
How many have they taken? 75,
I think. So I still hold some old school arrogance, probably,
for sure,
but I don't really think I warrant necessarily automatically getting in.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
And, if that doesn't happen,
You'll find something else.
Well,
Breck Epic, right?
Yeah.
That's brutal. Like, that's not.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So
that's a different kind of fitness.
Right now, I'm looking at land run double.
Yeah.
So trying to remember how to be a runner. I actually ran into the office today.
So
then 100 miles the next day.
So you run a marathon the first day?
It's like an ultra, 31 miles.
Okay.
And then, the 100-mile race the next day. Throwing in for DKXL.
Mm-hmm.
If that doesn't happen, Mark Savery, I'm sure, give me shit about this, but I'll just go back to single speed because I've been second multiple times. And this is the old school days. This wasn't when Marcotte and Pro Tour riders were showing up, but I'm right outside, right around the top 10. So I'll probably try to do that single speed, and then I was laughing with Susan last night. I would probably be silly enough to be like, all right, where's Eric?
Yeah.
Right? I'm just going to hold on as long as I can. politely tell him, hey, do you mind if? Right? I just sit there for a while, and he would probably laugh and be like, well, if you can.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
But say, 5 minutes of that, fall off, then go as fast as I can. I actually made the mistake of looking at the results from last year, and I was like, oh, I can average that.
Yeah, exactly.
What would it look like with stops? Get the calculator out. I can do that. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But I'd rather get into DKXL.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't want to count my chickens. But yeah, so then Matt Tillinghast, shout out Matt, and I will. He's got a heel.
Yes, he does.
Big time. Probably mentally as much as anything else.
For sure.
So when we went out to dinner the other night, and it was, you could very much tell he's got some antsiness to get back, and
for sure.
Who wouldn't? But yeah, so we'll go do Breck Epic, and I won't be able to keep up with him. So I feel like I said this to him. I was like, "Are you sure you want to do this with me?"
Yeah.
Because Matt off the couch is better than a well-trained skipper. That's the way I put it to him.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And I don't even own a geared mountain bike at this point, so there's a lot. I'll have to get
Are
your
you a
report on the
large?
blur. It depends on the bike.
Well,
I'm
bikes.
super tweener.
What?
I'm tweener.
Okay.
And stuff. So
So I have that SB1.
like a Pro Caliber, probably ride a medium instead of a large.
Because the SB100, those cockpits are so small. Like you're sitting like upright.
Right.
Yeah. So
Well, and I've historically made the mistake of getting too stretched out on bikes, and then you've got to pull the fit back in.
Yeah.
So I can never see. That's where I need to sit down with Marcotte and just consume, because I've always been horrible at checking all the boxes.
Yeah.
I like to write a lot,
Yeah.
but nutrition,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
I'll need that extra fat
Yeah,
because I'll burn it off on a long ride.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
So always getting better. Well, hey, thanks for doing this again.
Oh, thanks, man. I know. Hope we got it recorded this time, buddy.
Well,